Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Transcendent. Transcendent is the weekly broadcast of San Antonio in Black, White, and Brown, and SABWB is a leadership space. It's a leadership space designed to pull together influencers from every race, position, and perspective. We gain from each other because of our different perspectives. We gain from each other because of our racial nuances. We are pulled together at SABWB for two purposes. One is to build trusting relationships with one another. We understand and realize that we can work no more together than we're willing to trust one another. So we work on building trusting relationships, do some interesting stuff around that as well. And then secondly, we want to collaborate or work together on both the value and the implementation of principles that shape the culture. Ultimately, therefore, SABWB wants to shape the culture. By the way, somebody's already shaping it. The culture is already being shaped by forces which may be shaping it in the direction, leaning it in a direction away from where you desire for it to go, where any uh, reason desires for it to go. We seem to be headed in an unreasonable direction in many ways today, but we can't look back. We can't stand back, rather, and watch that happen and not do anything about it. So SABWB is your voice in the marketplace. It's your voice in politics and in law. Is your voice in education. Is your voice in sports and entertainment. Is your voice in the church. You and I have to put forth the voice of the kingdom, and we must do that together. It's not one voice that will be able to accomplish it. All of us together, having like precious faith, being of the same mind and the same heart, you'd be surprised what a spirit of unity like that can accomplish and what it is accomplishing. There's much to tell you, but while we're getting into that this afternoon or this evening, I want to incite you to become SABWB partners, and I want to incite you by giving you some gifts. The best thing to do to incite you to give is also be a giver. On the screen, you see our partnership package. It comes in this very neat nylon bag with SABWB embossed on it, and you can use that to tote anything. It's waterproof and very durable. You can put it on you, wrap it around your shoulders like a backpack. Inside of that plastic bag is a number of gifts for you. The first of which is a koozie. These are hot days in San Antonio, and you need something to wrap around your cool drink to keep your hands dry and your drink cool. Your koozie will do that. Has SABWB's emblem on it as well. In addition to that koozie, I'm excited about this edition because this is your coffee cup. SABWB has a hookup. We got a major hookup with some amazing coffee being grown by farmers in the nation of Rwanda and in the nation of Malawi. We just made a trip there, took some footage. At some point, I'm going to show you that footage. I'll show you what is going on to make sure that top grade coffee grown in Africa, which, by the way, is the birthplace of coffee on the continent of Africa. But we've got the best coming to you, and you'll be able to get a cup of it, put it in your cup, sit down and enjoy these other two items in your gift package, which are books. This is the first of the two, Heaven on Earth, written by the late, great Alan Vincent, whose life God used, he and his wife, Eileen, to literally change the nation of India. There are, right now, he's in heaven, and Eileen is back in Great Britain, but there are still tons of things that are happening because of the way God used their lives. And they chronologue how God used them and give keys to how God may also be able to use you in these two books, Heaven on Earth and Kingdom at War. So make sure that you become our partner. Go to our website. You see the ways that you can give and become partner on the screen. I want to encourage you to match some gifts. There are people who are giving and they're challenging you to match their gifts. We had about $6,000 recently given in match gift funding. I have a check in my pocket right now, a $75 gift. Giver encouraging you to match that. This ministry is doing tons of stuff going forward, as you'll see on this program tonight, and things that will unfold this year end and coming into next year. The next 2023 is going to be a banner year. So become our partner. Thank you so much for doing that. I want to now tell you about something, sort of like a public service announcement, something that's happening right here in the city of San Antonio. I was privileged to go to this event for the first time last last year. It happened right around Christmas. In fact, it is called the Christmas Cantata. It's put on by a group of Asian believers from around the world, extremely talented and wonderful folks. And I have with me tonight the San Antonio coordinator for the cantata, Pastor James Choi. Pastor Choi, thanks for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to be with you. And the cantata was extremely inspiring last year. Pastor Ak Su, to tell me
Park,
his name again,
Oxu Park, yeah, Pastor Oxu
Oksu
Park.
Park, uh, delivered a message last year that flowed right with the theme of the cantata and was quite impactful to people's lives. But all of those people, all of that work coming into the city, give us a quick rundown. Now, you guys are more extensively performing this year than you did last year because of COVID restrictions.
Yes,
Last year, I think you cycled around 5 cities last year.
yeah, only 5 city, yeah.
Only 5 cities. But this year, there are 25 cities, and they have already started. Started in New Jersey, then to Philadelphia, then to Washington, then to Cleveland, and tonight in Detroit. And they're making their way across the country. They will be here in San Antonio on what day, Pastor Choi?
October 8th,
The 8th of October. And where will it be showing?
yeah, in Freeman Colosseum.
It will be at the Freeman Coliseum. We were there last year, plenty of room to operate in the Freeman Coliseum. You're going to be amazing. Sort of already this early, uh, my oldest daughter, who happens to be the producer of this show, we call her the Christmas elf in the house. She likes Christmas coming as early as it comes. Starts playing Christmas music in October. So we're thankful that some like her, many like her, will flock to the Freeman Coliseum on the 8th of October this year to participate in the cantata. What do you want to say to the listening audience about the cantata, Pastor Choi?
Yeah, and so once again, thank you, Pastor Charles, for inviting me. And
Hmm.
actually, we did this Christmas cantata for 8 times in San Antonio and the free admission.
So
So
this is the 8th year right here.
yeah, we did 89. We are going to now 9 times in
Hmm.
this year and October 8th. And also many people asking about the Christmas cantata is December, but why you want to bring in the cantata in October? Yeah. So
Hmm.
because so they traveling the all of the world, especially this time, the first time they going to Israel,
Mm.
Israel. So it's really amazing, as you know, right? So there are many rabbi and Jewish people, but one
Hmm.
of the rabbi, after seeing our Christmas cantata in South Korea at last July, so
Hmm.
she really impressed and she with the government and they invite our choir, full choir, 200 member people in
Okay.
Israel. Now they're going to right performance in Jerusalem, and also we want to deliver Jesus. Jesus is the Messiah who died on the cross for us. It is
Yes.
really amazing. And also,
I want the people to know that Pastor Choi is sitting in the home here in San Antonio that's coordinating this event, and you see people running around in the background. They they are the people who are putting together
yeah,
the cantata. Little bitty legs running across the back, and you see men, younger guys walking across. 120 voices, folks, and an 80-person team to move scenery around. This is no joke. It's not a light task, and it's a beautifully orchestrated event. And so if you want to get into the Christmas spirit early, listen to this. Pastor Choi, how much are the tickets?
yeah. So now actually we expecting around the 8,000 to seat. Now we prepare 8,000 seat. So
Okay.
last year we prepared 8,000 seat in Premium Croatia. Also
Okay.
it was a full house,
Right.
but Yeah, this year once again we're gonna write
It
the
was a full house last
yeah.
year. And how much are the tickets?
Yeah, this is free, right?
The
The
tickets
admission.
are free,
Yeah,
folks. The tickets are free.
yeah.
These people have traveled from all over the world. They're traveling in a band of 200. They're praying and believing God, and somebody has supplied the resources for San Antonio and 24 other cities around the world, literally around the world, to be blessed with the cantata this year. So you are invited to fill the auditorium. I was amazed. It was my first time, as I said, it was my first time going last year. I will go again this year, and I want to see you there. I want to see you at the cantata, um, enjoying all the scenery and all of the expert acting and singing and the beauty and the pageantry that takes place with the cantata. Pastor Choi, what do you want to say to the people finally before we part our ways this evening?
Yeah, everyone, really, we like to invite all of you, especially our Christmas cantata is we singing for the gospel, and also not only just the music concert. As you know, Mark chapter 16, Mary and Magdalene, they going to tomb of Jesus, but they worry who will help us to move up the stone of the gate. But finally, when they reach tomb of Jesus, they realize it is already opened the gate, and
Hmm.
Jesus was not here, not there, and already he resurrected, and also Jesus Christ, he was going to Galilee. So after they move, they reach the tomb of Jesus. They realize, oh, they remember the promise. Jesus, he died on
Hmm.
the cross, he resurrect, and let us meet from Galilee. But most of the disciples, as soon as Jesus died on the cross, they forgot. So through the Jesus, as you know, the December 25th is not Jesus' birthday, but as you
Right,
know, Jesus,
right,
he wanna born in our heart. So that
right.
is true Christmas day. So we wanna
Yes.
bring true Christmas day through the musical. We wanna message. Message is
Amen.
he
Oh, that's
died
good.
on the
That's
cross
good.
for you. So that's
I,
why he washed your sin. Yes.
yes, I love the fact that unapologetically the gospel of Jesus Christ is spread through the cantata.
Yeah.
It's not for entertainment only, although it is beautiful and beautiful pageantry and wonderful talent. It is for the transmission of the gospel. So take someone there who perhaps haven't heard it that way. I'm sure they haven't heard it that way,
Mm.
and their lives are going to be so powerfully impacted as they do that. Without apology, they're going to deliver the gospel of Jesus Christ. I love that. The Christmas day is really when Christ is born in your heart. It's
Yeah.
not on December 25th. It's
Yeah.
when he's born in your heart.
Yeah.
And the cantata will help that happen. Thank you, Pastor Choi, for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much,
You
Pastor.
can get tickets for the cantata at Faith Outreach Center, as many as you want. They're free. Pastor Choi, where else can they go to get tickets before you leave us today? Tell the people where else they can go to get tickets.
Yeah, everyone, please join the Christmas Cantata and .com, and also you can join the website. Then actually you can get the e-ticket anyone, and
Okay.
also you can please go to the Christmas Cantata the .com. Then you can get
ChristmasCantata.com.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. You heard it here first. Make sure you make your way there October 8th for the Christmas cantata. Thank you, Pastor Choi, for being with me tonight.
Thank you so
Blessings
much
to you.
for
We'll see you
inviting me,
again
Pastor.
soon. You're more than welcome. All right. I'm going to invite you now to go with us into an invitation to join us for our I Pray experience, which we do right here every Friday in these offices. The I Pray experience is designed to move you as a child of God into an arena of prayer and intercession, because we understand that nothing happens effectively in the kingdom without earth cooperating with heaven, heaven releasing revelation and power into the earth to bring the kingdom to bear. Therefore, we set aside Fridays from 10 a.m. to 11 right here in our offices at 8023 Vantage Drive, Suite 313. You can come join us personally in these offices, or you can, if you're at work, you can join us on SABWBTX, our Facebook page. If you can't at work, join us at that time. These I Pray experiences are archived on our Facebook page as well, SABWBTX. So before you go to bed at night, flip it on and pray with us as we're praying through very critical issues, one that I'm going to be addressing with a dear friend even today. So let's go to commercial for the I Pray experience, and we'll be right back right after this.
Hello, my name is Natalie Hardy from SABWB, San Antonio in Black, White, and Brown. Every Friday morning at 10 a.m., we are at this table seeking the face of God on behalf of our city. And if you didn't know that, I wanted you to know so that you can tune in with us and pray with us, whether we do it on that same time or after the fact, and look at a broadcast and pray with us after the fact. Every voice counts. So join with us on Friday mornings, and we look forward to praying with you. Bless you. Bye-bye.
Every Friday morning is the I Pray experience, but I'm going to jump back in here now to give you a good reason to pray. There is something going on. The title of this program is called the Modern Emancipation Proclamation, Part 2. The Modern Emancipation Proclamation, Part 2. And last week, I read you a little bit of the Emancipation Proclamation. Our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, made that declaration in the middle of a civil war, freeing the slaves. So if the North won the war, the slaves would be free. If the South won, slavery would continue. So automatically there was a hearty investment in the outcome of the war by the African slave. Harriet Tubman and others joined in, and they led regiments of black soldiers into war, and the war was won, and the slaves were therefore freed. So I want to encourage you that there is a modern Emancipation Proclamation taking place, and it deals with the school system. So I want to, I see a sign that keeps flashing across the screen there. So we want to make sure that you are in on this modern Emancipation Proclamation, and it has to do with us breaking what is referred to as the school to prison pipeline. I have an expert on the phone with me, a dear brother I met here at the church. Actually, the Texas Public Policy Foundation put together a briefing. We hosted it at Faith Outreach Center, and Michael Benjamin from Florida, who was the co-founder of the school choice program in the state of Florida. I met him there that day, and our hearts met, and we have been working together since then. He's every Thursday in a call of people here in the state of Texas, leading us forth in the charge of accomplishing school choice here in our state. And may God help us to have accomplished that by the time the legislative session ends in June of 2023. It's a game changer. It's 5 million students here in Texas. And those 5 million students need an Emancipation Proclamation. They need their modern day Emancipation Proclamation, which will happen by school choice. But what makes school choice necessary, Michael, is something called a school to prison pipeline. What give us a little bit of what is that? What is a school to prison pipeline?
Good to see you and be with you this evening, Bishop. Thank you for the opportunity to share. The school to prison pipeline really refers to the practices and policies that disproportionately place students of color into the criminal justice system. You and I coming up probably remember things of trends of Black and brown students often getting historically detention for things that Black and brown children are getting criminalized for now.
Yes.
We used to go to detention, not get put in handcuffs.
Right.
And that's essentially what's happening now. A lot of this came about from the zero tolerance policies.
The war on drugs. And
there you go. There you go. It was very strict. That was in the 80s and 90s. And when these officers
president orchestrating the war on drugs and skyrocketing jail time for Black and brown population.
Yeah. And, it's a real problem. We've discussed some of the zip codes in San Antonio. I think there's like 4.
I couldn't believe it.
And, you know, people that we put in office, listen, man, I support families. I don't
Mhm.
support legislators.
Right,
I vote for
right,
legislators to support the issues of the communities that I
right,
fight for.
right,
And
right,
somewhere along the line, they need to be reminded that they are not there to perpetuate their political career. They're there to represent the people who put them there. So they should not have opinions about what they want to share with their constituent base.
right.
They shouldn't hear something and then determine, I don't like that. I'm not going to share that with my constituents.
But the
They should
reality
hear.
is, Michael, that the money pushes them around now.
Mhm.
There are organizations like the Teachers Union and others that will line their pockets with campaign donations if, while in office, they will sing the song of that particular uh, lobbyist or interest group. And they get there and they become more career minded than they do representative minded. That's
Correct.
what you essentially what you're saying, that somebody can make them dance like a master puppeteer because they're holding the purse strings.
Right.
But the time now is for people who are in leadership to listen to the concern of their constituents and pursue those concerns, seeing that there are legitimate things that would increase personal worth and value, increase, grow a tax paying population. Everybody wins. But in the school to prison pipeline, for those who don't know, particularly in the state of Texas, a lot of our prisons are privatized prisons, not only in Texas, but around the country. What's a privatized prison? It's built by someone, they're privately owned, and they contract with the government to take care of the citizens that are sent to them, the criminals that are sent to them, and the government pays for that prisoner per head. So a prison is built, the government pays for that privatized prison facility to take care of these criminals for the time that they have been sentenced. If I am a private prison builder and the government is giving me money for heads, don't you think I want heads in my prison? Because if I don't have heads in my prison, I'm not getting the money from the government. So the system itself feeds mostly out of Black and brown communities. Now, I will say right here also, and Michael, I'm sure you will agree with me here, that there is personal responsibility in any given community not to be lawbreakers and not to do things that are in offense to the law and put themselves in a position to become a prisoner, because the 13th Amendment of the Constitution bans slavery except for a person that has been charged and convicted and incarcerated on a crime. So that means that we have slavery still exists in America. It doesn't exist like it did in the South with people who were forced into, all kinds of brutal hard labor. But when you're put into prison, according to the 13th Amendment, you become a slave. And therefore, there are over a million of them, over a million Black slaves in America, because they're involved in that system. Well, what gets them in that system? Again, there is some accountable behavior that we must undertake in our own communities to back away from doing the things that allows us to be locked up. But there's also systems, over policing in neighborhoods, and systems and a poor education system is one of them, because here's one of the benchmarks for a school to prison pipeline. If a student is not reading at third grade level by the time they're in the third grade, if they're not reading at third grade level, the logarithms, or the what you call those things?
Algorithm.
Algorithms are put into place to calculate that that student who's not reading at third grade level by the time in the third grade is likely going to end up in the criminal justice system. So we have to start building prisons, getting ready for that population. Hence the term school to prison pipeline. Michael, you want to add anything to that?
Well, I was just thinking that, it's a very good point that you made about personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But some of this policing is happening where it's kind of into the name of school to prison pipeline, but it's happening in the school.
Yeah.
So there's a police officer in the school, and if someone acts up, we's and us's are usually the ones that get referred to the police officer, and then it becomes a criminal activity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, as we mentioned earlier, just going to
Detention,
detention. But one of the things that, that, and we'll get to some solutions, I'm sure, in the
Mhm.
show, but one of the things that I think about is developing cultural competence. I mean,
Mhm.
there's no understanding after all of these years of how we operate. Like, we
Yeah.
go anywhere else, right? And we adhere, or we learn about customs if we go on vacation.
Mhm.
And you go to
Mhm.
Japan, you're not sticking your hand out to shake the woman's hand. You don't
Right.
do it in Israel.
Right.
You don't do it, So it's like, but yet we're here, and folks don't take the time to understand
Cultural
um,
dynamics.
cultural dynamics, and therefore you're not going to understand if like, what happens if a kid, which happens a lot if you deal with areas of poverty, comes to school and hadn't eaten and starts to act up. You don't bother to
Irritable,
find out.
short attention span.
You give them a referral, and boom,
Yeah.
that's it. You don't know that maybe on Friday they got picked up by mom, dropped off at auntie's. Saturday Sunday went to grandma's to go to church. Mom picks them up that night. Doesn't know what the homework is. Didn't eat. I mean, these, mom's got a couple jobs. I mean, if you sign up to become a teacher and you have a certain culture that is mainly filling your classroom, it behooves you to understand
Yes.
and have
Absolutely.
some cultural competence.
Absolutely, it does. And in addition to those things, what you point out by pointing out those things, and I want every black male to hear me right here. The bane of our African American culture, the thing that cripples us mostly, is fatherlessness. No father in the home to be the house band. The word husband comes with two words, house band. No one to keep the family together. And mom's working two jobs, and she's trying to find some relief in the midst of that. And dad's 9 times out of 10 is not paying child support. So she's having to feed herself and these growing kids. And she may have, due to her own immoral stance about things, she may have a number of kids by a couple of few men. And they're all growing up in the house together. Fatherlessness is the bane of our society as African American people. It was a time in this country in the 50s, right here in the United States, when children born into an African American family was in a two-parent family more than 80% of the time in the 50s. That's now switched. More than 80% of kids born in African American families are born to a single parent family. Oh my goodness.
And Bishop, I might add that as the government continues to fill that spot of becoming the father in
Yes.
the household and saying, if you don't allow the male back in, we'll be the husband for your family. We'll be that father for your family.
Now
As a matter of fact,
that's
we'll give you
happening.
the resources as long as you don't let them back in.
That's right. That's happening right now. And we call it social services, when in fact it is a strategy to break down the black family, the black and brown family, make the state the nanny state. is referred to. The nanny state is the state that provides everything that you need. As a woman, you got to keep that man out of your house. Don't have a man in your house. And they're doing it under the guise of, well, he's not in there, you can't have any more babies. But that doesn't stop the woman from having babies.
Right.
But it does stop the house. It does create a household where there is no father, and the man feels like he has a legitimate reason to stay out of the house and be irresponsible because the woman can't get any help, any welfare services if he's there.
Right.
So this thing has perpetuated, and we have grown a community up around this kind of activity. It's really embarrassing. It's embarrassing that why does the Black population and the brown population, why do they have to be the ones that receive all of the benevolence and all of the food and all of the clothing and all? Come on. I'm grateful for the people that need and stand in abject need of it and whatnot, but don't let throwing food and money at you rob you of your dignity and rob you of your sense of loyalty and to your family and a sense of dignity about yourself. We have to cut that right there, what you're seeing on the screen. We have to break that school to prison pipeline. We know what's making it. What's making it is the broken family, and what's making it is social programming, and what's making it is a broken school system. A broken family, broken social policies, and a broken educational system is creating the school to prison pipeline. Now, Michael, you and I know, I'm glad to say that we're going to welcome about 15 pastors into these offices tomorrow. I'm so thrilled to have the men of God and the women of God here tomorrow to grow together in our understanding about not only the existence of this school to prison pipeline, but how we as the people of God can break that school to prison pipeline. And I want you to talk with me about that in the next segment. We're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we're going to take up strategies on how to break the school to prison pipeline. I'll be right back after this. Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Flowers, your host for Transcendent. Transcendent is SABWB's online weekly broadcast aired here on Influence's platform. Join me and other key leaders from various pillars of influence which shape the culture of San Antonio for innovative and strategic dialogue. Each week, we will address core community values and principles that need to be restored and re-implemented into our culture of our great city. This may often necessitate identifying where these values and principles are being compromised and reflecting on the damaging impact that such actions may have if left unaddressed. But ultimately, we want to take the conversation beyond ordinary limits, exceed the normative boundaries, and implement bold, time-tested principles across the pillars of influence in our city, which will result in the positive transformation of the culture. I look forward to visiting with you each week here on Transcendent. And I want to thank you for joining us again here tonight on that subject matter. We've been talking about the school to prison pipeline, what has created it. We also want to talk about what it takes to break the school to prison pipeline. Let me just review for those of you who are just joining. Go on, join the conversation here on the social media platforms, and tell us what you're thinking, because we want to know what you're thinking and be involved in this conversation that helps us communicate with you and you with us so that we can break the school to prison pipeline. Three things that we have identified in our previous segment that creates a pipeline: bad social programs, broken family, and a broken school system. Michael, let's focus on that third one, this broken school system. Now, you have about 20 years of experience here, because it was you and another partner who undertook the establishment of a school choice program in the state of Florida some 20 plus years ago. This was before school choice was a thing. You guys heard what moved you in that direction, and tell us about some of the hurdles, the milestones you had to cross to, and if you got time, tell us about what you started with in terms of that scholarship program and where you
Well,
are right now.
yeah, the big thing is the champion, Governor Jeb Bush. I mean, he was the real reason for it. When you have that kind of strong leadership,
Mhm.
and he was running for his second term. He had already had um, helped parents a lot by, a lot of folks would ask, how do you know something's a good school? And they were like, my realtor told me, I'm not looking to buy a house, and they said they're good schools here. Or a friend of mine told me, my neighbor. It's like, but
Mhm.
like that doesn't really say. So Governor Bush's A+ plan, he put letter grades, just like in school,
Mhm.
to rate schools A, B, C, and D. And that
Okay.
really did help a lot of parents understand what type of education their children were getting. Let me do a little double dutch and jump in, jump
Mhm.
out. The pandemic has given parents now a really good idea of
Yes.
what type of
Yes.
education their kids are
Yeah.
getting. All
And they
right,
were
so
shocked at what they found. Hmm.
absolutely. And I mean, some people get very fervent about things. I mean, you cut me. I don't bleed educational choice or school choice,
Hmm.
although I'm like the school choice guy.
Yeah.
I bleed kids, and then you cut me a little, deeper, and you really want to know what's going on. I bleed Jesus, right? So I got
Yeah.
an audience of one, but his care. I mean, I don't have really opinions of my own. I read the Word of God. I pray. The Holy Spirit leads me. Um, he wants kingdom coming to earth. He
Yes.
wants his heart, my heart to jive with his heart. I'm not trying to get him to bless what I'm doing. I'm trying to put
All
my
right.
boat in his
All
river
right.
and
I
catch
hear
the
you.
flow.
I hear you. Yes.
But if you're reading your word correctly and you're taking time, you see what moves the heart of God.
Hmm.
So outside faith, you start talking about kids, and
Hmm.
and so I think about the identity, which is really something that's being challenged today. Identity and truth.
Hmm.
And kids can't really get to find out who they really are if they can't functionally read. That means they're not reading their word.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and
So much hangs on that. Yeah.
yeah, it does. And and it's not just reading the words, which if you're not functionally reading by third, fourth, fifth
Hmm.
grade, and we talked about, I was an economics major some 30 some odd
Hmm.
years ago. About if you have a private business and you want to have revenue, you got to have customers.
Right.
So
Right.
the start is, if you're not reading on grade level, they're like, "Ooh, look, I can see a direct correlation
Hmm.
to you having a
Yes.
bed in this seat, and I can get guaranteed money
Hmm.
for every one
Hmm.
of those kids that come in here," which then feeds the whole cycle which they're perpetuating, which is
Yes.
another black male not in the household,
Hmm.
not able to get or hold down a decent job when they get
Hmm.
out, which then recidivism starts to happen.
Yes.
I mean, so this whole thing, please understand, everyone watching this is not haphazard. This is not. I mean, I want to put a comment and say, no matter what happens, God wins.
Yes.
But you may not live out the days that God has planned for you, or you may not be living out the fruitfulness that He has planned for your life if you get caught in these traps.
That's right.
If
That's right.
if you if you're beholden to an entity that provides
Mm.
your living, understand that one day that rug can be pulled out, and then what? So if we
That,
go
that
back,
that's super important because it's a sobering thought. It's a sobering thought that if I am beholden to another institution for my welfare, I've placed my welfare in somebody else's hands, and they can, at a whim, pull that from me. Where does that leave me?
right?
So therefore, there has to be some personal accountability and some personal stuff going on. But this thing was going on in Florida, and you uh, and your partner who had a private jet, I understand, got to moving all over the state to raise awareness for this educational choice piece. And what happened? How did it develop in Florida?
Yeah, so there's some people that are just true believers in the cause. And that was the case. Very successful professional, and just saw these inequities and just jumped in with both feet. And back in 2000, we had a representative that put forth a bill. If it got passed, it became this new revenue stream that we were all looking for to help balance the scales, because one size does not fit all.
Right.
And so what we had to start doing was essentially almost evangelizing, because back then there was really no vernacular for it. And so, I understood that my job, most of his job was to raise the money and speak with legislators, except for the ones that I had to get the community to put pressure on legislators to help get them to come on board. But my main job was to evangelize. It was just go across the entire state, probably seeing about 6 schools on average a day.
A day?
A day. It was unbelievable. It was so supernatural that, people ask me to this day, how did I do it? And I can go and I can teach. Many states ask me to come in and speak to it and talk, and I can talk about it. But I'm like, look, this might only be for believers, because when a task is that big, you know that if you don't stay in step with the Holy Spirit, it cannot be done.
Right.
So when I look back, I don't pat myself on the back. I just know that I was obedient and knew it was too big for me to take credit and keep doing. So I was like, look at God. So I'm just going to learn as God's teaching me along the way. But so, I'm going around with my old PowerPoint A-frame flip chart and explaining this stuff and basically saying, hey, look, for every student, the scholarships.
The days of flip charts.
Yeah, I done dated myself a little bit, but that's all right. But basically saying, hey, look, back then it was $3,500 a student. Now it's like $7,000.
Wow.
Back then it was a $50 million program that helped 15,000 students that would qualify for free or reduced lunch. That 50 million is now over 500 million, and that 15,000 is now over 164,000. And
over 164,000 children are now involved in this choice mechanism in Florida.
Correct. And imagine this. It saves the state of Florida money just by its functioning, because it costs less to educate a child on the scholarship than it does for the allocation that the state has for the student.
Yes. Here in the state of Texas, the allocation per student borders on $15,000.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Student. People do not understand. And I just like to talk like common sense stuff. You're not going to hoodwink people for that long, because parents still have to have some skin in the game. There's still some ancillary costs that they have to pay for. It's not all covered. And then, it also deals with the misnomer that, this actually meets around, $8,000, where, schools typically cost. So someone's putting in $1,000 plus, whatever else needs to be done. And so the bottom line is, all we wanted to do was put all educational options, including traditional public schools, on the educational menu and let parents decide what's the best educational environment for their kids.
And isn't it common sense?
It is.
This is not something that is like a novel idea. It is something that is so common sense. No one, and the data is in on this. Dr. Johnson will be with us tomorrow here in this briefing that we'll have here in our offices from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. And I want to say to if you're in 78228, if you're in 78207, 78210, 78237, if you are in those zip codes and you are concerned about your community and you want to do something fundamentally to change the game in those zip codes, I give you an open invitation. Let me give you a phone number, 866-4409, 210-866-4409. That's the offices right here at SABWB. Let us know ahead of time that you want to be a part of this, and you got to let us know quick because we're doing breakfast. I mean, not breakfast, but we're providing a lunch, and we want to adequately prepare for you.
And I'm not the end all be all, but I'm in town and I'll be there also, so we can further
Yes,
this
absolutely.
discussion.
Dr. Johnson and Michael Benjamin and myself, we're going to unpack this thing for you on tomorrow, and we only have an hour and a half from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. So there's got to be a lot going on in that hour and a half, and it's going to be very impactful. You're going to feel like you're being fed from a fire hose, but you're going to get good and full of what information that you need. Not only do we want to educate Michael tomorrow, but we want to lead these leaders, inspire these leaders to engage their people.
Absolutely. And again, I'm ordained also. I don't have a church, but as people of God, almost not to the same degree as legislators, it's a higher calling.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't stand in the way of sharing information with who you're shepherding over.
Oh, say that again.
You can't stand in the way of sharing information of who you're shepherding over.
Yes.
If you hear something and it's been successful somewhere, proven for 20 years and growing,
mm-hmm.
and this is happening across the nation also, right? So Arizona just passed an ESA that every last one of their 1.1 million students has access.
Can take advantage of, yes.
Right. So once that happens,
and there's 5 million students here in Texas.
Share that with your congregation. Allow us to come in and share that information with your congregation, and let them decide. It's no different than sharing, well, again, higher calling, but when you share the gospel, you're not mandating that people accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior.
Right.
You're not even responsible from the planting of the seed, the watering, and the cultivating necessarily.
Right. Well, the harvest.
Whatever God calls you to do, that's your part. But it's incumbent upon you to be obedient and do it. So if we're sharing this information and it's showing it's helping congregations and those that you're shepherding in your community, please, for the love of God, share this information. Allow others to share this information and let them skeet shoot. I call it skeet shooting. Put it up, and if they don't want it, they can shoot it down.
Yeah.
But they're not even in the game if you don't share the information.
That's the thing that I'm going to use this word, and I don't mean to use it wrongfully. It infuriates me when there is no choice. If my child can go to another school where he's not being bullied and where his educational acquisition is not poorly administrated, and if he can go where his hopes and dreams are not diminished, why should I keep sending him there?
Right.
Why not have an option? And even see the school choice opposition, they kick at a bunch of things. And I want Michael, I want you to, from experience, debunk some of these arguments on school choice, and you know that they're debunked because you got 20 years of experience under your belt.
Yeah, so sometimes it's called the National Education Association, more formally known as the National Extortion Association. But there's this interesting inverted dichotomy kind of thing going on, right? So I won't even say names because I don't know whether you realize this or not, but there's really no more political parties. This is just like career politicians, because on both sides, if they're about an agenda, they're about an agenda. They don't care whether the Republican or Democrat.
If you're in 228, 208, if you're in 210, if you're in 237, hear what this man just said. That for all intents and purposes, there are no more political parties as such. It's career politicians.
Right.
Either people who want to further their career and will do it uh, dancing at the end of somebody else's purse strings, are people who actually have a heart for their community and are there to serve the best interests of their community, even to educate their community, as we will be doing tomorrow.
Parent, I'm sorry, parents, watch what people do. Don't necessarily base everything on what they're saying.
Right, right.
Please watch what they do, what they vote for. Look at your kid, turn and look at your kid and just say, did what that legislator do help my kid and my family make it another day? Or did they put something
throw a
in
couple
place
things
here?
at you, Michael, and let me throw a couple things at you, and you treat these in whatever you see fit. I'm playing school as usual advocate right now, and I'll say to you, if you give school choice to all of these parents, they are going to move their children into alternate situations, educational situations, and they will cause this public school to collapse.
It is impossible to have, to use a biblical term, an exodus of the students in the traditional public school system. There are not enough seats to allow the traditional public school system to crash by having a mass exodus. And quite frankly, the schools where students are going, in order for them to do the job and have the personal attention that they need, they can't take everyone. Because one of the challenges that we're seeing, even with this school to prison pipeline, is there's not an environment to understand the underlying causes of misbehavior, repair damage, build a sense of community, and deal with these restorative issues when you're if you don't have a caring, loving, smaller class size environment. So where are all these students going to go in order to maintain that?
Yeah. Let me throw another one at you. These parents just want to use tax dollars to send their kids to religious schools, and the separation of church and state forbids it. Bam.
Well, again, each family determines what educational environment is best for their kid. It may not be a faith-based, parochial, Catholic, whatever it is. I've been to areas of Georgia and Texas where it may not be a faith-based school, it may not be a better academic school. They have a better sports program, or it's safer, and they want their kids out. They're hearing and experiencing girls getting raped in bathrooms during class time. And they're like, no, we want our kid out. We want an option. Now think about this. If you're the only game in town and you're only going to a school assigned to your family by the zip code, and horrific things happen, like, shootings, stabbings, rapes, gang thing, and you have no alternative, what power do you have against that establishment to make a change?
You don't have any power. You don't have. That's why school choice is so
get out
important.
of my face, man.
Right.
Get out of my face, man. I don't have to deal with your issues. You got no choices. Right. You got nowhere to go.
And I want to say to the parents that the question I just lastly posed to you was what has been used for a long time to keep Christian schools off the playing field where tax dollars, and remember, we say tax dollars, these are taxpayer dollars. Correct. These are dollars generated by the taxpayers, not the government's money. They like to claim it as such, but it comes from taxpayers. A recent court ruling from the Supreme Court determined that it is not the establishment of religion for a person desiring to use educational dollars to send their children to a private or parochial school. That's not the establishment. They are seeking the best place for their child to be educated and the best environment for them. And so the Supreme Court has come down with that ruling, and because of it, it's not the BAM that it used to be. It would have been that a decade ago because you had the wrong people in office not in office, but wrong people in positions, in the Supreme Court especially, making those kinds of decisions. Now you have a constitutionalist that read the Constitution in the proper way, who know that there's not this separation. By the way, that phrase, separation of church and state, is not even in the Constitution. That was in a letter written by one of our founders, referencing how the government could not impose itself on the church, which is what was happening in Great Britain, where they had come from. But at the same time, those same founding fathers, it even made stipulations that you could not serve in public office in this state or in this colony at the time unless you had convictions about the Lord. Your life had to be right, because they knew that you would rise to power, that power would seduce, that power would corrupt. And they said, no. To hedge all of that off, do you have a relationship with Jesus? Do you walk it? That's the history of our nation. But we've removed so far from that. But I thank God revival is taking place. We're coming back around the center. Michael, we're at 8:59. We're gonna show a quick commercial to a movie premiere happening right here in the city of San Antonio. I happen to be the MC that night at the Palladium. Red carpets all rolled out, and people all fancied up, dressed up to go see a movie that will touch the heart and will change the life. Look at this movie premiere, and then Michael and I will be back to say good night right after this.
Up to the turtles. The turtles must be your friend. Yeah, but you're my best friend. You're my best friend too. Mom, why do you have to go?
She can't hear you, boy. Let's go. I don't care if you like it or not. We're staying here. You understand me? I'll be back.
Take me back.
This is all for you.
Honey, you pray for the food?
Yeah. Thank you for our special friend. Thank you for bringing him to our home today.
I know you have a plan for me. The older I get, the more I can remember.
You must have been so scared.
I was, but I knew that Jesus was with me.
I'm sorry, I got a meeting I gotta get to for work.
Well, do you like music or do you like running the company?
Well, music's for my God, and work is for my family, for my dad. Thanks for not giving up on me, Dad.
A father never gives up on his son.
Help!
I waited for you. Did you know that? But you never came back. I was scared. I was tired. I was alone. You left me for dead. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? I can finally keep that promise I made to you all those years ago. I was running into your loving
Want to be a part of something that will uplift your life and got a good twist in the plot line that will have you talking about it, talking about the content of that movie for a while. So on the 29th of April, it's at the Palladium. Tickets are $20. You can get your tickets here at our SABWB offices, and get ready to get cleaned up, shine like a new penny, and get on the red carpet and take some photos and enjoy the time there. I'm going to be acting up. So y'all join me on the red carpet on the 29th for this. Michael, thanks for being with me tonight. You want to say anything in closing about the meeting tomorrow and inviting folks to come?
If you're a man or woman of faith, I say that, not necessarily just a pastor. You can have a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
You're about God. You have an audience of one. If God says it, you do it. If God don't say it, you don't do it. and you've heard this, there's a reason why you heard it. Please come, join the discussion. I believe that when God allows you to hear something, then you are now personally responsible for something to do. You have to do something with what you heard.
Right.
And so, let's work out as we work out our own salvation. We've got to work out what we heard, and
Yes.
remember, other people are waiting on the other side of your obedience.
Wow. Other people are waiting on the other side of your obedience. Some children's lives, some communities can be altered and totally changed because you take up the mantle of this modern Emancipation Proclamation and give parents a choice as to where they want to send their children to school and how they want their children educated. It can happen in our time. This is not a kick against any parents or not a kick against any school teachers or any school administrators. Many of them are there for very noble causes because they believe in the lives of children and they want to enhance that in every way possible. We're on the same team in that regard. We believe in the lives of children and want to enhance it in every way possible. Thank you for joining us tonight. Put it on your calendar to be with us next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock for Transcendent. Become a partner for us. As we go off the screen, you're going to see ways that you can become a partner with us. Do that and let us be your voice, and together, these are the ways that you can give on screen. And thank you for your partnership, and we will see you right here next week for Transcendent. Blessings. Thanks for being with us. Love you big. Bye-bye now. Michael, you want to grab something here?